large-scale state housing programs have been marred by the high cost of land, poor quality infrastructure, and mediocre civic facilities. The common factor in all the cases has been the absence of political will to ensure sustainable development. World Bank report reveals that Kenya needs 2 million low-income homes to be able to cater for the needs of a majority of citizens. But as many will ask, is affordable housing a mission impossible in Kenya and Africa as a whole? To help demystify this is the CEO of Username Investment, Reuben Kimani, who has fortunately joined us this afternoon. A very good afternoon.
Good afternoon too, Nina.
Right. Thank you so much for coming and gracing us for your presence. Just to get right into it, define for us properly what affordable housing is and why is it so crucial in Kenya?
Thank you, Nina. Maybe I'll start by saying hi to the audience out there. Affordable housing is one of the biggest topic right now, one of the big four, to start there.
Yeah, the big
and
four.
I would say it is one of the most spoken about topic of the big four. To speak about what affordable housing means, this is basically housing that can be afforded, or housing that someone with an income maybe of less than 50,000 can be able to afford. Maybe these are houses that are basically priced for low-income earners. Yes.
Okay.
And maybe to add on to that, basically these are houses that are meant for, I would say, majority of the people. If you look at data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, you'll find that 74% of income earners in Kenya, and this is the formal sector, they earn less than 50,000. 74%. That is a big percentage.
And that's a very big number.
Yes.
So why is it crucial? How is it supposed to work? I mean, clearly it's a big deal. It's in the big four agenda. Yeah.
Maybe even to give more statistic about that, you'll find that according, and you have just mentioned, as per the World Bank report, we have an accumulated deficit of 2 million houses. And every year we provide 50,000. And every year we need 200,000. I believe that is simple. And you'll find that it is very important for us to, or crucial to handle that challenge, because if every year we have 200,000, I would say, families or houses that are needed, and we are not doing anything about it, it will become a challenge later. The other thing is the fact that every year you'll find that the population grows by 2.6%. This is approximately 1 million people per year. And as per one of the reports, it says that we are almost 50 million people in the country. So next year it will be 51. The other thing that is very important to note is the fact that because of the urbanization, people are coming from rural areas, coming to towns, looking for jobs. The migration. The same report tells you that 26% of our population lives in urban centers. And every year is growing by like 500,000 people moving from rural to urban centers. You'll find that if you don't address this issue, it will become a crisis at some point. So it is that important.
All right, 500,000 people every year move from the rural area to the urban area. We have that migration going on. On top of that, we have 74% of the people in this country earning less than 50,000. That aside, we also have 200,000 homes that are needed every year that are not, there's no result. This is not achievable. It's not achieved. So my question is, how is this affordable housing agenda achievable, considering we already have all these challenges?
Basically, one of the things I would like to say, I want to believe the government is doing it this time around, especially after the president highlighted as is one of the big four agendas. The government is giving it the right attention to start with. I feel it is sufficient for now, but I would say it is perfectly achievable. I think there are many plans in this country. Some of them never see the light of the day. We basically do very good plans. Then at some point we are not able to execute. The plans that I have attended forums personally, and looking at those plans, I would say they are achievable. But maybe highlighting some of the things that I feel must be done for this to be achievable and sustainable. Number one, you'll find that quite a number of people have bought plots as we speak. Like Username Investment does affordable land. And we believe we are helping the government achieve its objective. So I would suggest and I would urge the government to focus, especially on areas where people have bought these plots, to put up the necessary infrastructure. I'm talking about roads, I'm talking about electricity, and then I know there's last mile, basic amenity. I'm also talking about water. If you go to developing countries, like developed countries, like Mexico, at some point, you go there right now, you'll find that there's a radius of 80 kilometers from the CBD where most people live. So there's a much bigger population than our country. And I believe maybe we can look at where are people buying these properties and these plots, and maybe put basic infrastructure there. And very fast, there's also the issue of the cost of land. I believe the government owns quite a good amount of land near the city, and this one can be given up to developers to do that. There's also the issue of mortgages, make it affordable. When we talk about 75% of the employed people earning less than 50,000, we need mortgages that a person with 50,000 can be able to afford, so that they can partake the affordable housing that are being done by developers.
How would you break that down? A mortgage that a person of 50,000, one who earns 50,000 shillings per month can afford?
I would say, if you look at some of the mortgages that are taken, maybe say a house worth 5 million, you'll find that somebody, after paying the deposit, most of the time is 10%, 20%, they're supposed to pay like 30,000 per month, more than 30. And one of the reasons why it is usually high is because the interest rates are much higher. And if you look at 14%, right now is 13.5%, you'll pay approximately 30,000 shillings if a house is worth 5 million, and the interest rate is about 6% as per my calculation. But if it is 13.5%, you'll find yourself paying the 50,000 you're earning. So I'm talking about a mortgage where you can pay, talk about 10,000, 15,000, then you pay even in 20 years. So interest rate is something that has to be checked. Number two, we also have to check that the houses we are offering these people, of course, are dignified and maybe affordable. I would say maybe less than 3 million, as the government defines. Right. That would be good.
All right. Now, you've mentioned the different challenges that we might face when it comes to the implementation and the execution of affordable housing. And what is the best way, from where you sit, what is the best way you'd advise that the government to work on getting the implementation? Sorry.
Okay, sorry for that. So I have highlighted several measures I believe the government can do. And one thing I would say, we have very good plans. Execution is key for these plans. You'll find very good plans sitting somewhere and gathering dust. I would say the government should do everything, number one, to execute. And I've talked about ensuring that we have infrastructure in areas where people are buying, I would say, plots. You find so many plots in Kajiado County, in Machakos County, in Kiambu County that people have already invested in. What is lacking there for people to start building is basic infrastructure. That's number one. Then ensure that we also speed up digitization, where it doesn't take me so long to get my title. You know that for you to construct a house, you need approvals. And sometimes when you don't have a title, it takes too long. It will also take me long to be able to build this house. There's also the issue of basic infrastructure, which I have also highlighted. I believe if this is addressed, this can be good. The other issue is also about partnerships, especially with the private sector. There's a good number of companies that own land near Nairobi. They can be given incentives to be able to construct. The last thing I would talk about, which is also important, there's a time, I don't know which year was this, when we did not have all these motorbikes you see on the roads. But at some point, the minister in charge at that point, I think it was Amos Kimunya, he zero-rated the importation of these motorbikes. And all of a sudden, everyone had a motorbike. And if you look at the figures right now, they're employing thousands of young people in Kenya. So I'm looking at affordable housing the same way. You need materials, and they are very expensive, especially the traditional materials that are used for building. I would say we can look for things where we can zero rate. Can ask ourselves, why is this house very expensive? And one of the things is that some of the materials you buy, some component is a tax component. Maybe you can zero rate some of them so that when I want to build, it is so easy for me with the income I have to do it. So part of that $500,000 can be achieved that way.
All right. And are there any policies, would you say the government is in support? What would you actually advise when it comes to the laws and policies that you think, from where you sit here, you think would affect the implementation of affordable housing, especially on the private sector and
the public sector? I would say the law and the policies that are in place is not sufficient, if you ask me. One of the reasons why some procedures take too long, especially looking at land. There are laws that I would say are quite old. They were done long time ago.
They don't fit.
They don't fit. So you'll find that it becomes a challenge to most. You have to undergo a lot of approvals. Some of them, if you look at them critically for this age, they might not be relevant. So you'll find people have to, and I would say maybe that's one of the reasons why you'll find sometimes you find corruption in some areas, because the laws that we have are very hard for somebody who means well, or somebody who wants to move fast where construction of houses is concerned. So I would say some laws need to be reviewed. And I'm happy that the Lands Ministry have been doing that. They have been looking at some laws. I believe they are making some bit of progress, which I feel if they critically look at those laws that are irrelevant to us at this age, I think we can move very far.
Because they are irrelevant anyway.
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's always this tug of war between when someone is trying to decide whether to purchase a already built house or to purchase land. What advice would you give such a person?
That is right, Nina. You'll find that people don't know, do I need to build or do I buy a fully finished house? I would say this is circumstantial. It's not something I would say you follow one route or the other. Though I have a bias towards constructing your own house because of several reasons. Number one, it is not strenuous. It is not so difficult because you'll come to username, for example, you buy an affordable land. Maybe it is less than, most of the land is less than 400,000. So that is the first step, assuming you have some money somewhere. Then you can go to the next stage where you seek approvals, you pay some money, maybe after some few months. After 6 months now, you come back, you buy some materials. You basically go step by step. In a period of 3 years, maybe you'll have done your house. It gives you some time. Then the other thing is the fact that when you see these houses being sold, these are developer, these are government collecting taxes, there are so many professionals, there's a lot. So the developer has to make a markup. So basically you buy the house plus the markup. So there's also that advantage. When you build, you lower your own cost. The other thing is people have taste. You want this kind of a house. You want the kitchen to look like this. You want this TV to be there. You want such things. You have that flexibility to be able to design your own house. But at the same time, I also understand there are people who are working somewhere. Building your own house sometimes comes with a lot of challenges. You have to be available sometimes to supervise.
Especially those who send money from abroad. Even when you are here in Nairobi, you might be sending money to your supervisor, maybe someone who is holding fort for you on the ground. They have to be trusted. It comes with a lot of back and forth. You need time. Sometimes you may look at the time value for money and realize that maybe the best thing for me is to buy a house. Maybe you're employed somewhere and you don't have all that time. That is good. The other thing about buying a complete house, sometimes many times you are doing gated community as developers. You find a developer will give you a swimming pool. They'll be able to give you some other amenities that you can't get on your an eighth of an acre somewhere. The deal is better at some point.
The deal is better. And this only works if, I would say, if you don't have so much time to spare. to go back to the ground and build. It's better to buy at that point.
All right.
But if you realize you can be able to hack it, you have some time, maybe twice a week, go and check your mjengo. It will save you a lot of money and you'll get exactly what you need. And you can do it step by step until you finish.
All right. Well, there you've had it. It's better to build your own house, but if you really do not have time, go ahead and purchase a complete project. Now, what is the role of the private sector towards the achievement of affordable housing?
The role is quite big if you look at private sector. We are developers. We usually contribute 50,000 houses every year. Most of them are not affordable, and that's why we need affordable housing schemes. They play a big role. You find that number one, there's exposure and experience and research that private developers have done. They have all that information in their hands. So in these affordable housing schemes that the government is developing, I feel the private sector can easily chip in and provide that. Years of research, years of experience. The other thing you'll find that some private developers and private companies, they have very prime land around Nairobi that can be used to develop their affordable. You just need incentives. You just need, especially when you develop houses, one of the biggest challenges, you ask any developer, is selling. So if I develop house for affordable and I'm making a very small margin, I need an assurance that maybe the government will take all the houses.
You will purchase it as well.
They'll purchase the houses.
Okay, so we've sorry to cut you short. We are running out of time. Okay. So we have we've mentioned what the government needs to do. We've talked about the public sector. We've talked about the private sector. Okay, so what do we need to do as a country cumulatively to make sure and ensure that we implement the affordable housing and it is sustainable?
Very important. We may do many things right now, just to answer your question. We may do many things right now. It's a hot topic right now. Everyone is talking about, then it wanes down along the way. We need it to be sustainable. And there are several measures that you can put in place to ensure that is sustainable. One of the things that I feel is important, especially the 500,000 the government is piloting and doing, especially in the next 5 years. I think it's important to have a serious criteria. The 74% of the population I was talking about. Ensure that we give these houses to the right people, because you'll find there are people will find a business agenda and they'll come and take over houses that were meant for people with low incomes. I think it's important to have a very serious criteria, very tangible criteria, so that we ensure that the right people get the right houses. There are no people who maybe want to buy them and sell them later. The other thing that we must do, especially from the government point of view, develop infrastructure. And if you go to countries that are developed right now very fast, you'll find that they have very serious roads that maybe even 50 kilometers or 80 kilometers away. They have, of course, light rail. I think that is a very serious project the government can pursue. It can move so many people, especially like, assume Kajiado is 80 kilometers away, the town. People have bought so many properties along that way. Imagine if we had a metro where you can live in Kajiado 8 kilometers away and come in. So infrastructure is very key. The other thing that we have to work on is mortgages. We need the mortgages. You find that some bank employees and some people get mortgages at 6%, which you'll find most people taking advantage of it. I'm asking if what if that was accessible to majority of the people who are working?
And that
would be so easy.
Yeah, and that is a topic that if you get into, we might end up crying here, because how the banks, the coping interest and what the CBK and the banks they need to meet somewhere midsection, so that when it comes to mortgages and lending money, the business world will stop suffering, especially SMEs. I am so sorry that we've run out of time, but this is a conversation that we definitely would like to have again. That is it for Business Insight. My director is going to kill us, but yeah, that is it for Business Insight. Thank you very much for keeping it Ebru TV. My name is Nina Shaban.